Hi everybody, welcome to the pre-race briefing for the 2021 SDW 100. My name's James Elson, I'm the race director here at Centurion Running. Thanks to all of you for sticking with us for this race, especially to those of you who had this race cancelled on them in June last year and again in November, a week prior to the race actually happening. It was unbelievable at the time and a massive blow to all of us. And especially to those 20 or so Grand Slammers who ran 300s with us in 2020 and were denied the chance to finish the fourth and final one in November 2020. This will be the culmination of their Grand Slam journey. They will have special coloured bib numbers on the day, so give them a shout if you see them. I'm going to take you through the day in order of kind of time, just because it's the simplest way to do it. There's a lot of ground to cover. This will be probably about 20 minutes, I'm afraid. Please do try to stick with it through to the end because all the information is really important. I can't just pick and choose odd bits, I'm afraid. First and foremost, what's new, what's different? We're still in an era of COVID protocols, but we are starting to phase some of them out as the situation begins to change with regards to conditions of our permit and conditions that we're happy to operate within. For this race, we're expecting between 400 and 450 starters, which makes it our biggest ever event. This race in 2019 had just under 380 runners. We are operating a starting window of 4:30 a.m. until 6 a.m. on race morning. And we've asked you, as per the email, to seed yourselves based on your estimated finish time, so that you start at the appropriate time in that window. So faster runners off first, those expected to take longer back towards the 6 a.m. start time, so that the spread of runners is as great as possible as you go down the course. We are allowed to do mass starts. It's the congestion at the checkpoints at ultra distance races that is the issue. So starting at the beginning, if we talk about Matterley Bowl and the start and Friday night just first and foremost, on the Friday evening, we will have nothing open except for parking, camping. There will obviously be toilets on site. We will have a couple of containers of water, but effectively there are no facilities down there except toilets. We won't be set up for registration. You won't be able to collect trackers or bib numbers on the Friday evening. It's just open for camping. And those of you that want to park in campers overnight or park up and sleep in your tent and chuck the tent in the car the following morning. We will have a small pop-up store there because our sponsors at Line Equipment, La Sportiva, Julbo and Petzl, will be in situ. They will have some last-minute race essentials if you need them. They'll have some sunglasses and head torches and things to check out for those of you that are hanging around. Again, that's another step for us back towards normality as we welcome the pop-up store back. It won't be the usual massive spread, but just the essentials for race day. On Saturday morning, we're open from just before 4:30 until 6 a.m. and you must start within that start window. When you arrive at Matterley Bowl, you'll be asked to either park up and you'll be guided to where to park adjacent to the start. It won't be a long walk, or be dropped off in your cab or by your friends and family. Your friends and family can park up to watch you start. That's new again. We can have spectators back now. However, please ask them to park respectfully and where the marshals tell them to. Please don't let them head off anywhere into Matterley Bowl Estate. At registration, you really need to enter the registration area ready to start your race. So when you come into the tents to receive your bib number and your tracker, your bib is not being posted to you, you will collect it on the day. You'll collect your bib number and your tracker. You'll then move through to the starting pen, which will be quite a large size. You'll have your tracker affixed to you, or you'll fix it yourself, and you will immediately start your race. Any drop bags and your finish line bag will be given to our marshals and staff before you enter that registration start process. Please come armed with your bib number. If you walk up to the bib number collection area, it'd be really handy if you know your bib number before you get there. It will make things much smoother for us. So just to reiterate one more time, you'll enter the starting tent ready to run. All your kit on, literally ready to start the race. It's not going to be cold or wet, so hopefully that won't be an issue. You'll pick up your bib number, you'll then collect your tracker, you'll fix your tracker to your pack or stick it in the top pocket of your race vest, enter the start area, and then you'll cross the line and you're off and running. The first 3.7 miles are around the estate. They're not on your GPX for a good reason. It's a private estate and we don't want people wrecking that outside of race weekend. Myself and Drew Sheffield, our head course marker, will be setting that out on the Friday night. It'll be very straightforward circuit of the estate before you then head out onto South Downs Way. The South Downs Way actually runs through Matterley Bowl estate, and you'll join that. It's about 3.7 miles around the estate before you hit the South Downs Way. It's a beautiful loop of the estate. It's a really nice circuit. The first mile is around a low level path and you get to come back paths to start finish. So if you've got friends and family there for you, they'll be able to cheer you on. It'll be a really nice occasion to get back to. You do join the road through that estate. There will be cars coming and going. We will marshal it, but you'll need to be careful. Now, on and down the course, there's going to be one major change at the checkpoints for those of you that have run with us in 2020 or so far in 2021. As you enter any one of the checkpoints, you will still need to form a social distance queue. However, we are now going to allow the volunteers in PPE, gloves and mask. You must have your mask on too, runners, when you come in to every checkpoint, inside or out, you must have your mask on. The volunteer will fill your flasks or bottle for you. Please stand with your hand outstretched with your flask, and the volunteer will do the same with the jug, so we can ensure you're still a metre apart, you're outdoors, you're both in PPE, and your interaction will be extremely short. There'll be no touch point then. The volunteer will be able to fill your flask without touching your flasks, and you won't need to then handle the tap on the vats, which means you've got one less touch point too. So as we step back to less COVID protocols, this is our first concession, really, a big concession for that. It will mean things are quicker, which means our start window at the start line is shorter, just an hour and a half instead of the 2.5 hours we have been doing. You'll be quicker through the checkpoints, and there's one less touch point for you. So on 3 levels, we think it's the right move to go to this. If you then need food, everything will still be in the single serving packets. You can still go up to the food tables and select what you want before you move on down the course. You won't handle anything that anybody else has handled. As you go further down the course and congestion eases, we will have some aid stations where you will sanitize your hands, fill your own bottles, and then re-sanitize on the way out and carry down the course, okay? So as you come in, there'll be a gatekeeper marshal who will tell you what's what, but you will see as you enter the first checkpoint exactly how things are going to be. In the first half of the course, everything is outside and you'll find volunteers filling your flask for you. In the second half of the course, some are indoors and what have you, and you'll find some of them are self-serve. You will serve yourself fluids. The vats will be sanitized and you will have sanitized hands each time. Guys, I hope that makes sense. It's a step for us back towards normal. For those of you who haven't raced with us in the last 18 months, you're probably thinking, well, that's a lot of information about something quite simple. But the majority of our runners are returning runners and have become very used to our full COVID protocols, hence the lengthy description. Now, checkpoint 1, Beacon Hill Beaches, about 10 miles or so. Checkpoint 2, Queen Elizabeth Country Park, mile 22. I just want to touch on this one. There is another event in Queen Elizabeth Country Park on Saturday morning. It's the 209 events, half and 10K, South Downs half and 10K. Now, Queen Elizabeth Park is massive. The council and the park have signed off on both events happening. We want to do everything we can at the moment to help each other. So Mike Grattan at 209 has been great. We've worked closely with him to ensure we've got sustainable protocols. If you're through Queen Elizabeth Country Park before 10 a.m, then you won't have any issues. There'll be no event happening for you to worry about. If you're through Queen Elizabeth after 10 a.m, which will only apply to those of you who start towards the back end of the start window and are moving in the back, say 30% of the course, you will find that there are other runners who are joining you, diverging, and then coming back the other way further on down the course. The South Downs Way through that entire area is extremely wide. It's a drivable track. So there's no issues with distancing or crashing. You just need to make sure You stick on the South Downs Way and you follow our course markers. And this is a good time for me to show you exactly what our course markers are. The South Downs Way, which you're on until you leave the trig point at mile 98, is signified by this symbol, the acorn symbol, and obviously it says South Downs Way all over the place. Finger posts, guide markers, everything else. You'll also see our Centurion arrows. They have a reflective strip in shining back at you at night. And you will find that we have red and white barrier tape with a reflective strip in it for nighttime portion as well. If they're not those things, don't follow the markers. You will find other organisers may have left signage up. There might be other small events that cross or join the South Downs Way during the day. Mike Grattan's 209 events race will have blue and white tape which say 209 events on and their specific race arrows, okay? Don't follow those. You've got to stay alert as you go through QECP. About between miles 21 and 25 or so on our course, you will see some of their markers out. Further down the course, the gaps in the first half are quite substantial. The weather is set to be 13-ish degrees at the start and overnight. Beautiful nights. You're going to have an incredible night on the Downs. Very envious of you running. You will, however, have obviously a hot day on Saturday, and for those of you finishing later into Sunday, the heat will get right back up again. There might be some cloud cover, but we're sort of talking about between 21 and 25 degrees with almost no wind. So there are substantial gaps between those checkpoints, some of you taking several hours. Make sure you have the capacity to take adequate liquid with you. We say a minimum capacity of 1 litre. That won't be enough for many of you. You will need to make sure you've got the ability to carry 1.5, 2 litres, possibly even more with you. There are taps on the route, but our checkpoints are mostly where the taps are, obviously. So just make sure you've got adequate fluid on board and you're thinking about your electrolytes and your nutrition, your whole fueling plan, and take it easy during the real heat of the afternoon. That will mean you have a much better night and a much more sustainable race overall and a much more even effort. Don't push it when it's hot. We've seen it time and time again. That leads to quite a high dropout rate. So after Queen Elizabeth at mile 22, you've got a new checkpoint at South Harting. It's just a little farm we're using there because we still can't use National Trust property at Harting Down. So it comes a little earlier than usual. And then Cocking at mile 35, which is a big checkpoint. Crew are there and, you know, full service from us. Houghton Farm is a new checkpoint between Cocking and then Washington, which is halfway. Now, just before that, at the crew location, you are able to access your crew and pacers. Your pacers may join you from up there. You just read the crew tab instructions. I just want to touch on the crew situation before we go on down the course for the back half. Your crew can only meet you at the locations on the crew tab on the website. Some of them are checkpoints, so crew can attend those checkpoints. Most of them are crew-only locations. So the aid station tab is our locations. That's where we will feed and water you. 1 or 2 of them are accessible to crew, but the majority are not. The ones that are accessible to crew, plus the crew locations that they can see you at, are on the crew tab. Please ensure, just to reiterate one more time, if you have crews, supporters or pacers, they only attend the course at the crew locations on that crew tab. It's as simple as that. As you move on down the course, Washington, you'll have your first drop bag. We have a very tight limit of 28 people within Washington Village Hall at any one time. That will be very carefully and strictly managed by the staff team there. Your pacers and crew will not be allowed in the hall. They'll need to wait in the park out the back. Weather is good. It's going to be a beautiful afternoon. So if you arrive at Washington Village Hall, you'll go through the hall, collect what you need, collect your drop bag and see your crew. They'll still be able to attend to you. There is a crew point just after Washington Village in the small crew car park. We thoroughly recommend trying that out rather than coming to the village if you want to get rid of some of the congestion issues. On and down the course, I won't touch on the rest of the checkpoints. They are as they usually are. Saddles Combe is, with the exception of Saddles Combe, which is slightly further up the hill off of National Trust property, as opposed to being in the farm. Now, your pacers can only hand over to you at the locations on the crew tab once again. So no chopping and pacers in and out, please, anywhere else, or having pacers park at the finish and run back towards you and pacing you in from there. None of that is allowed. They must only meet and run with you from crew location to crew location. Just going to touch on the finish. When you arrive at the finish, you'll do your lap of the track to finish. Your crew and pacers and friends and family will be allowed trackside, and you're welcome to have them finish that final lap with you. Once you finish, unfortunately, we still need to ask you to move on as quickly as you can from the finish, okay? There will be obviously space to sit outside. Again, the weather is good, so there'll be no issues with getting some rest outside. Please don't obviously plan to sleep somewhere outside. That's not on. We're not permitted that. We do have Tennis Court 1 in the Tennis Centre open where you can sit and wait, but it's not a sleeping area. If you think you're going to finish sometime during the middle of the night and have no accommodation plans, then we strongly advise you to arrange onward transport to somewhere where you can get some rest, whether it's a hotel or a friend or whatever it might be, because we cannot have people sleeping at the finish. That's a mandate of the athletics track and Eastbourne Sports Park. So please help us help you. When you finish, you'll be looked after. You'll have time to get changed. Food and drink will be there for you, but please don't plan on sleeping. If you're getting the shuttle bus, then you already have a ticket sorted out. The bus is sold out beyond that, I'm afraid. You will need to go from the sports park and then come back at 12 o'clock to get on the bus, or just before 12. If you have nowhere to go and no options and you finished 7 hours earlier than you think you would have done, please speak to the staff at the finish and they'll help you make arrangements. In terms of medical, if you have any issue out there and you can't get to a checkpoint, you need to call the medical hotline. The number is on the email that this briefing has come out on, and they will attend to you as soon as they physically can. Bear in mind, it will take time to reach you if you are up on the ridge with difficult access. Please try, obviously, to get to a checkpoint if you do need to drop out of the event. If you come across someone who's in a real emergency situation, you should call the race medic, but you should also call 999. The first people to get there are the best people to deal with it. If you have other non-medical issues, for example, you're lost and can't make your way back onto the course, or you're dropping out with your crew and not at a checkpoint, you must call the race HQ line that will come through to me, and I'll take you through the procedure from there. You will be asked to drop your tracker at the nearest checkpoint and or the finish. The first thing I'm going to ask you, please do not go home with your tracker. We will see it travelling down the motorway. We will be frantically trying to call you back. We get charged for every day those trackers come back late. It's a logistical and admin nightmare when we're exhausted from the event. Please make sure you don't go home with your tracker. You need to drop at a checkpoint. If you need to drop at a checkpoint, drop at the checkpoint, hand your tracker and your bib number in. And if you drop with your crew at a crew location, you need to visit a checkpoint to hand in your tracker and your bib number, but you also need to call me at Race HQ to confirm where you've dropped, because we will see your tracker travelling in the car and we will be trying to get hold of you. We have a sweeper minibus. If you've dropped out of the race, a sweeper minibus will bring you on to the finish, but please be patient with him. Obviously, he'll be shuttling up and down the course. You'll be social distanced on that bus. You'll need to wear a mask on the bus, and the windows will be open on the bus. If you miss a cut-off, it's because you're moving slower than the average pace you need to complete the whole course. So there is, in our experience, absolutely no way you can finish the race having missed a cut-off, because you'd need to speed up over the rest of the race compared to what you'd previously done. Your cut-off is relative to your start time. So if you start at 5:30 a.m, the cut-offs will be half an hour inside the ones advertised on the website, which are 6 o'clock. If you start at 5:23, they'll be based on 5:23. So we will tell you if you've missed a cut-off at a checkpoint. Hopefully you will be aware of it, but otherwise we will tell you when you've missed those cut-offs. Okay, let me just quickly scan my notes to make sure I haven't missed anything. It says here the race isn't exactly 100 miles. Those of you who've done our races before, we're having a good laugh. The race is not exactly 100 miles. It's a trail event. So if it's slightly under or slightly over, that's it. That is how long the race is. It's still the South Downs Way 100. Respect for other trail users. You will find the South Downs is packed this weekend. There'll be horse riders, mountain bike riders, farmers who have to live with this stuff year round and don't all love it. There'll be dogs, working dogs, dog walkers, hang gliders, kite flyers, you name it. We need to treat them with respect, not the other way round. You need to accept that they're the general public. This trail belongs to everyone. We don't own it. We're merely passing by. If you're polite to the general public, we get fantastic reviews back. The National Parker love us and we're welcome to keep coming. If we have negative interactions out there, even if it's not our fault, it comes back on us, and a couple of public complaints create such a nightmare for us. Please advise your crews, lights off, noise down during the night. Be sensitive. Don't just dump your car on a verge somewhere and rush to see your runner somewhere you're not supposed to be. Ask them please just to stay at the crew locations and to be really respectful of everybody else. Hopefully it's a really positive, uplifting weekend with wonderful weather and a wonderful experience for everybody. Mandatory kit, we're not going to be kit checking you at the start. We will kit check people at every checkpoint. Make sure you have it all. You think you don't need it until you're walking along at 2 miles an hour in a colder wind than's forecast in the middle of the night, and your energy is depleted and you've been sunburned and you're starting to get very, very cold. Just carry the kit. You might not think you need it. We know better than you do because we've had an N of 10, 12, 15,000 runners over the years. We know what people do and don't need. That's, I think, that. There are 120 volunteers out there looking after you this weekend. Please say thank you to as many of them as you can. We cannot do this without them. And now more than ever, when they're spending all day and all night in hot conditions with PPE, words do not do justice to the level of sacrifice that they're giving us. So thank you all. I'm sorry it's so long. We look forward to welcoming you between 4:30 and 6 o'clock on Saturday morning, and good luck with your final preparations. Thanks everybody.